Hello, this is Martha with Living the White One Light. And today I am so happy to be talking with Pam Younghans, who is an astrologer, who I just got to know a little bit over the last several months, but she's really well known, well established, and I resonate with her work and her perspective on astrology a significant amount. And so I reached out to her and asked if she would be willing to talk about her perspective on life and the astrological overview of what's going on in our world. And so I'm really excited to get to share her wisdom with you all. She holds a series of are they quarterly classes that you hold to look at the...
Yeah, it's actually 3 times a year, so it covers 4 months at a time.
Yeah. So I took your class that was in September, I think it was. There was right. An overview of the fall of 2021, and I loved it. It just felt, the things I really appreciate about you are, just feels very solid and substantial, and yet also you seem to have this perspective on life that's also incorporates the earthly and the spiritual in a way that really resonates with me. So
well, that makes me happy to hear, because that's kind of my hope. I think the tagline on my website is bringing the stars down to earth.
Yeah.
I want to make it practical and understandable, but of course it's very lofty at the same time. So always trying to straddle the two.
Yeah, I can feel that, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, I have so many things I would love to ask you, but
sure.
One thing I would love to hear, and I think other people would love to hear, is just to start out with, what is your perspective on what is going on with our planet? There's so many ways I'm sure you could answer that, but answer however you like.
Yeah. Well, I think the big picture of it is, a huge time of transformation. Astrologically, there have been so many things that have come together, since 2020, the Saturn-Pluto alignment, the Jupiter-Saturn alignment, the Pluto-Eris square, the Saturn-Uranus square. So they're kind of all converging here in this time frame. And so, yeah, a lot of things are feeling like they're falling apart. But that's true of any time of big change, social change, that the society that's about to make a big leap forward really kind of crumbles in many ways, and the systems crumble in many ways. And that's really what Pluto's job is. Pluto's job is to tear things down. I think of Pluto sometimes as being a bulldozer. Lots of different analogies and archetypes we can use with the different planets, but it's really tearing down the old so that something else can be birthed. Again, Pluto, the god of the underworld, so the death and rebirth process. So that to me is the biggest picture, is that it's a huge transition time. I know a lot of channels are talking about from now until like 2030. I think Lee Harris, I watched his talk, his solstice talk, and he's especially focused in on 2022 through 2024 as being a pivotal time. And actually, 2023 to 24 is when Pluto moves into Aquarius. So yeah, astrologically, that also really corresponds with a huge social change mechanism going into place, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's your sense of the Pluto moving into Aquarius energy? What does that feel like?
It feels exciting and kind of quick. It feels like it pushes us into that next phase. It's interesting because in astrology, if a planet is about to leave a sign, or if it's in our birth charts about to leave a house, it feels like it's trying to wrap things up. It's like, okay, we're going on vacation or we're going on a trip, so we've got to finish cleaning up the house before we go. So I see that in people's charts a lot. They have that feeling of, wow, there's a lot happening as we're finishing up this transit of this house. But if Pluto is transiting Capricorn, which rules social structures and governments and everything that has kind of been the linchpins of our reality here, Pluto is trying to clean things up. So, and that's a piece of this too. Pluto reveals things that we oftentimes don't want to see. And that's one of the archetypes I use with Pluto too, is a psychotherapist. The psychotherapist takes you into dark places. It's the shaman energy that you don't necessarily feel comfortable moving through, but you realize that it's an important part of the transformation that's going on. So Pluto is taking us through what feel like some dark places, as far as things being revealed about governments and social structures and everything. It's all meant to be coming to the surface now, so that when Pluto goes into Aquarius, we can start the new. I don't want to make this too lofty because it is still hard work, but it's, Aquarius is about a more idealistic society and a more progressive society and seeing people as equals. Those are all the really lofty qualities of Aquarius. So in my mind, that's kind of where we're going. That's the intention. If we're talking about a cosmic intention of this time, that's what it feels like to me. So I see you nodding your head. Do you have that sense too?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think of specifically, there's so many aspects of, the coming year and beyond, but one thing I'm thinking of is right now, we're making this video on December 23rd, 2021. Mm-hmm. So it's on Saturday, right? December 25th, Christmas Day, that Pluto will have, Venus is going to have its second conjunction with Pluto.
Right.
3. And that's happening at 26-ish degrees of Capricorn. So I'm thinking of next March, I think it's March 3rd, when the third conjunction is going to happen.
Right.
And that will it be, I think, at 27 degrees Capricorn?
I can look it up. I've got all my little cheat sheets here. Let's see if I wrote that down. If I wrote that down, that's good English. Yes, I'm very articulate at times. And 2750 degrees of Capricorn.
Almost 28. So it's inching even closer and closer and closer to the end. And one of the things that I think is so fascinating when I've been, I wrote this 2022 journal. And so I've been looking at all the transits of 2022 over the last several months. And one of the things that pops up so strongly for me, and I'm curious to get your perspective on, is that Mars and Venus will have a conjunction as they together conjunct Pluto.
Right.
And then Venus and Mars will move into Aquarius together.
Right.
So for me, I think about that clearing the structures issue being so heightened when it comes to the Venus energy in particular, but then also the Venus-Mars energy.
Right.
So what comes up for me, but again, I'm curious to hear your thoughts, really it feels like an opportunity to break down our conceptions around gender, relationship, money, but it feels really exciting to me, maybe scary, I don't know.
Right.
But what's your take on that aspect of things?
It does really feel like the pinnacle. So I am connecting this all certainly with, this whole process of Venus and Pluto being conjunct. So the first conjunction was December 11th. And then we have Venus went retrograde last Saturday, the 19th, I think, 18th or 19th. And now it's conjunct Pluto again. So it just feels like it's setting up a process. And it's not like something just suddenly appears out of Mercury's going to go into Capricorn on January 25th. And so it's going, and then it's going to station direct on February 11th. So during that time, it's also conjunct Pluto. So my point is that we've got information coming forward first. Because Mercury is the communicator planet, the information download. So I don't even know if we can completely project into Mars, Venus, although I love what you said about the gender equality and all of that. So there are certain elements we can think, oh, well, that could be involved. But I think there's a lot here with, I think Mercury, I'm trying to read my notes. So Mercury and Pluto are conjunct on January 28th. Well, it's retrograde, and then again on February 11th. So we've got a 2-week period there where basically Pluto and Mercury are wandering on together as well. So that's kind of pivotal.
That's fascinating. And then the other thing I noticed was you work with Vesta? Yeah. So I noticed that when Mars and Venus are conjunct Pluto, also Vesta is involved.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So what's your take on that?
Well, I love Vesta. She's actually conjunct my ascendant, so I feel an affinity for her. She has many different energy systems she works with, of course, as all the planets and asteroids do. But the part that always resonates with me is her spiritual dedication. It brings tears to my eyes, spiritual dedication. And commitment to something greater than ourselves. So I think that can be woven into this in a very powerful way, as far as people really coming into their own, as far as, we talk about this all the time, and channelers say it all the time, we're coming into our spiritual, I don't know if it's a spiritual revolution that you want to call it or something like that, but it's a deepening of our understanding of ourselves as spiritual beings. And so, yeah, anytime I see Vesta involved in a scenario, part of me goes, woohoo.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
What's your take on that? Is that what you're thinking?
Very similar. I mean, yeah, it just brings this holiness and this sanctity to, again, it feels like an opportunity. I mean, we can't know, but it feels like an opportunity for us with Vesta sitting there with Pluto and Mars and Venus at the end of Capricorn and then moving into Aquarius. I wonder if it's sort of a foreshadowing or like a moment when we can really come into our own sovereignty, our own sanctity, our own devotion of ourselves as beings that are the masculine and the feminine, and really clear out old karmic crap, of our own, but also of existence. It's like we've lived so long on this planet with obviously incredibly difficult relationships between the genders, but just difficult relationships in general. And I wonder if we're being called into a time where we can clear that and just start again. I mean, it's not instantaneous. I know that, but I've been channeling a series of books, and the first 3 are done, and I published a couple of years ago, but the 3 that I'm working on right now are called Love Speaks, Goddesses Speak, and The Gods Speak. And they're all about the divine feminine and divine masculine and the inner sacred union in ourselves. And it's really about this. It's about, like, it feels so relevant to this Mars, Venus, Vesta conjunct Pluto at the end of Capricorn. It just, moving into Aquarius. And anyway, and they're channeled, right? So it's not me doing it. Like I always, when I channel, I channel and then I look back at it and I go, oh, wait, oh, maybe that was the reason they X, Y, or Z, you know, like I don't really understand it in the moment often, but I'll look later, I'll look back and they'll start to see the pieces coming together of what the higher intelligence maybe is.
Sure.
So that's what one of these moments for me of like, oh, okay, you're having me channel this now and coming into the next few months, I feel like, and these astrological things are also happening. Maybe that's not a coincidence, you know. I mean, I don't know.
No, you know, I actually call astrology the cosmic coincidence, because it's like, well, that's strange, that goes along with that, but it is kind of this grand plan, I believe. So, but yeah, what you're describing, I can feel into that. And of course, it's always a personal choice how people tap into that energy. But then you look at it as kind of the precursor to the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in April.
Yes, I was just about to bring that up. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, granted, we're still dealing with a lot of this realm, this world, and I do not believe that we are exiting this planet or anything along those lines. I think we're elevating this planet. But it's all, and now I lost my train of thought. So there you go. Yeah, there's all of this, because the Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, Eris stuff actually isn't done with us. So we're still going through some stressful times, especially next fall. But for all of this to be occurring really feels like it's building on our knowing of ourselves as spiritual beings and having those aha moments and those awakenings, and starting to create, as all of those planets and Vesta go into Aquarius, starting to create pockets within society that are going to demonstrate, foretell where we're going, hopefully, what Pluto in Aquarius is meant to bring out eventually.
Yeah. So then, yeah, the Jupiter conjunction, the Jupiter conjunction with Neptune, April 12th.
And actually it's going to be within, again, let me look at my notes. They're going to be within 2 degrees of being conjunct from April 2nd to April 24th. So almost the entire month. It's exact on April 12th, but you know, if 2 planets are within 2 degrees of each other, they're basically wedded already. So April is huge on a spiritual level. Now, you know, there's always the shadow side to these. So there's always big disillusion. There can be big disillusionment, which is the shadow side of Neptune, or grandiose thinking or grandiose fantasies with Jupiter in Pisces. So we still have to stay grounded. But I think there's so much possibility for opening to our own spiritual identity in many ways. And Jupiter always feels a little Santa Clausy. So there's always a little bit of, oh, happy, or this feels good. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be,
Well, and when I've been praying lately, I haven't been getting really clear messages about this, but one thing that keeps coming through is they meaning the spirits that speak to me, whatever they are, they keep showing me the importance of so this Neptune Jupiter energy being of, you know, in a certain sense, a potential for us to remember ourselves as beings of the everything, the all that is. But then the North Node moving into Taurus feels like maybe it's bringing us also into the fact that we are of the earth, and the earth is of the everything. So I keep getting shown the need to anchor both in the earth we are beings of the earth, literally, and the earth is in the cosmos. So it's like this, they keep showing me over and over and over again the need to help people remember to anchor into the earth and source and all of it all at once, and to not dissociate and like leave our bodies and just float into the nothing, but also not just clamp down into the fear of the 3D world, which is very scary in a lot of ways. To stay open, like that feels like the challenge right now, which I mean I personally can relate to stay really open and flowing as an anchored being with the earth and with source.
Right.
Yeah, do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, I think that's perfect. And yeah, I'm really focusing on that Taurus North Node in a class I'm going to give in a little while in January. But that North Node is so instrumental in saying, for humanity's evolution, this is what we need to do. Now, there's also that focus on, healing the earth and the environment and all of that. That's part and parcel of it as well. But I even, what you're describing is even the symbol for Pisces, which is where Jupiter and Neptune are going to align. It's a fish jumping out of the water and a fish jumping into the water.
Oh, I never actually knew that.
Yeah. So it's always for Pisces about being a spiritual being in a physical body. And we forget that. We think, I'm just going to lift off, or I'm going to create some kind of nirvana. But that's more escapism.
Right.
Which is the shadow side of Pisces.
Right.
And so, so it's not only there in the symbol of Pisces, but definitely with the North Node in Taurus. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Yeah. And I can speak for myself. I'm very Piscean person. Yeah. I also have a lot of Virgo, but I was born on a full moon in Virgo. And wow. So my sun is in Pisces on my descendant in my 7th house, and then my moon is on my ascendant. So I feel like a bridge of the two, but I also have my Mercury and Pisces. I mean, I'm very Piscean. I can totally do the Piscean thing. And so I often feel like the spirit world has to bring me down, like I'll do this like channeling thing and all that. And then the Gaia is constantly like, nope, but you're here with me. Like, remember, we're doing this together. Right. And actually the second book I channeled was called Gaia Speaks. And that was all the book. The book was just all about that Gaia is a cosmic being, literally. I mean, the earth is, part of everything else.
Right.
And for us not to float off, like a lot of us who are really spiritually oriented or whatever, remember, we're here. Right. And there's a reason we're here.
Right. Right. Yeah. You kind of get to embody that with the Virgo and the Pisces so strong in you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love both. I love Virgo too. Great. One other theme, I don't know if you want to speak to, that I notice is huge in 2022, that I could imagine being theoretically difficult. I don't want to label it that, but I'd love to get your perspective, is the incredible prominence of Uranus throughout the year.
Yeah. Well, I think so if we think about Uranus and Saturn being square really tightly throughout 2021, that's so
and today, specifically today.
And exact today, yeah. So there's such a dynamic feeling of almost blockage. And I don't want to blame Saturn, because Saturn is Father Time. And so to me, when Saturn seems to create delays in something manifesting or blockages, it's because it's not right timing yet. You know, it's just not the right time in the cosmos. So that's Saturn's job, one of Saturn's jobs, to help us be more intentional too. More intentional rather than just, oh, we'll just go with this change. It's more like, okay, really think about this, really consider what the changes are, what changes are needed and how they're best going to manifest. But then, you know, we do have the Saturn-Uranus square. It comes back into orb. You know, I think it's early June. It's in June that the, sorry, I've got my notes from an article I'm writing.
I know for sure next October it's within 1 degree.
So it's within 8 degrees starting in mid-June. And then they gradually get closer. And then September, October, they're within 2 degrees. At one point, they're within 1 degree. So it again is very strong. So we're not quite done with that yet. But it's so interesting to see we've got a release point coming up, because it is like Uranus is going to start to take front and center, especially because it aligns with the North Node and with Mars in, you know, very end of July, beginning of August. So there's kind of a radical shift that's possible. And Uranus's energy, I agree with you, it's very strong in 2022. So it's taking us forward in ways that maybe have felt blocked this year. And yet next summer and next fall, we're going to have to go back and revisit, well, we haven't tidied this up well enough yet, you know, because at the same time, Pluto and Eris, their square is going to be within 2 degrees of being exact again, same time frame, next September, October. So there's again an overlap of a lot of the energies we've been working with this year that have felt very confrontational. So to me, it's just a sign that, oops, have a few more things to clean up. Not that it'll be all perfect after that, but it's just reminding us of some things that we don't want to ignore, that really need to have attention paid to. And then, you know, from there it goes on. And then in 2023, Pluto moves into Aquarius. It's going to go in and out, but so it's like we have to, again, the image of, oh, they're about to leave. So let's get this house cleaned up before the next step is going to happen. Did that answer your question at all?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. And the main thing that I feel like people could be asking, and certainly I've had my own questions about, is what are some ways to navigate this, you know? And I have some of my own thoughts on that, but curious.
Yeah. Well, I think we can really look to that North Node going into Taurus. So depending on whether you use the true node or the mean node, they vary by a couple of weeks, but by mid-January, the North Node will be in Taurus and South Node will be in Scorpio. So we're being called out of the overreactivity. Again, we're looking at the shadow side of Scorpio. Scorpio has lots of great qualities, but when we're talking about the South Node, we have to look at the shadow side that we're moving away from. So the shadow side of Scorpio is over dramatization, getting stuck in, you know, all of that cantankerous kind of ugly places emotionally that we can go. And then the North Node in Taurus is saying, your answer here is staying grounded, being centered, connecting with nature, taking things a step at a time, living more simply, reassessing your values. And so, yeah, and there's lots of ways that can manifest. What comes to mind is all of the Venus activity. And one of the issues that Venus has to do with is the economy and financial situation. And that's what Taurus rules as well. So there may be that as a part of living more simply, that there are some economic issues that we have to deal with. that kind of take us back to basics in some ways. As a Taurus, I kind of feel good about that. It's like, yes, you know. But I also wonder about that in the summer when Uranus and Mars are conjunct the North Node in Taurus. Yeah. If there's going to be, I mean, certainly there can be other kinds of manifestations involving earth, environment, weather, all of that is possible in the summer. But driving this overall sense of get back to basics, get back to the earth, make that connection a priority.
Yeah, one thing that I've been feeling a lot with that is, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago or about a month ago when people were talking a lot about the Christmas shortage, something like that. Yeah. People getting really worried that kids would have a terrible Christmas because the shortage of, I wasn't really following it, but I was hearing about it from people. And my reaction was, how's this bad? I don't understand the problem.
I know.
So I don't know. I'm a single mom with 2 kids, and my kids have always had a very simple Christmas with me because, you know, with their dad, they're well off and they have a big, you know, lots of presents and that kind of thing. But my kids' whole life, what I do is Santa doesn't bring any, well, there's stockings and Santa will put little things in the stockings. But what I do actually is Santa creates an incredibly elaborate scavenger hunt with clues.
I love it.
So the scavenger hunt takes like, I don't know, 2 hours, you know, it's like very like, it has like, as my kids have gotten older, now they're 9 and 14, you know, Santa has to make these scavenger hunts harder and harder and harder, but it has like spy charts and like, it's very in-depth.
Wow.
So
cool.
And it's free. It's totally free.
Right.
So they don't get a lot of presents at my house, but all the presents are hidden in the scavenger hunt, right? So that's really the thing that they're excited about for Christmas with me. And
I love.
I don't know. That doesn't get affected by any kind of Christmas shortage.
Right. Well, then it's then getting back to what do you really value? Again, a Taurus theme. What's of value? Well, what's of value is your connection with your children. I mean, not what you buy them, not if they've got the latest toys. Again, I'm a very Taurus person, Sun in Taurus, Mercury in Taurus. So I live in a log house. I have that kind of sense of, well, make it basic, make it simple. But yeah, I'm totally behind you. I love that.
Well, it also makes me think of, the idea that not very 150 years ago, at least in my ancestral line, getting an orange in your stocking was a big deal. It was a huge thing.
Oh, I know. Exactly.
And why can't it be like that?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think this is a big part of the North Node going into Taurus. At least it's a part of the higher intention of it, because, and that's actually at the beginning of COVID, the part of it I loved was that I'd go to the park on the weekends, which I do every day. You have a big state park nearby. And because of COVID, there were no football games on the weekend. And so families were in the park with their kids. And while there are tons of what we want to call negative things related to this whole pandemic, I felt like that was such a positive. And it feels like the North Node going into Taurus is saying, yeah, and remember what this is like, and remember how that felt, and what do you value, and how do you create that foundation? To me, you're creating a foundation with your children of the heart, of the experience, that to me way surpasses anything you could buy them.
Yeah. And it feels like with the South Node in Scorpio, simultaneous obviously to the North Node in Taurus, just energetically, I just feel like all this excess junk just kind of flying backward. And then the North Node bringing us into that simplicity. And it's like if we, in our bodies, even if we've had excess, I don't know if this is even associated with Scorpio, but in myself, what I'm feeling is like excess, if you've eaten too much rich food or something and you're just letting it go, like, I don't know, but maybe something that people might benefit or something that might help during this time could be coming back to the question of, oh, I'm being stopped in this way to have this thing maybe that I thought I wanted. If I take a minute and really like take a breath and come into, like you said, my real actual values, is there a way that maybe I didn't need that thing?
Right.
And yeah.
And that can be a part of it. I mean, part of, again, the shadow side of Scorpio is attachment. The scorpion has the stinger on its tail and it stings and it's stuck there. So, we get attached to certain forms, or we hold on to resentments, we hold on to negative emotional issues. And that's a part of what we're supposed to be releasing as that North Node goes into Taurus, South Node into Scorpio as well. So I think there's elements of that in what you were just describing.
Yeah. I feel excited. I don't know if I should feel excited, but yeah, I feel like this, I do, when I go into prayer, I really do feel like it is in service of the ultimate good. And I feel a little hesitant to say that because things are so difficult for so many people.
I know. But I think we get to decide, do we believe in a benevolent universe where there is a plan and growth and intention? Or do we think it's all just chaos and all of that? So I think that comes down to a basic belief or value in us.
Yeah. Is there any other last, I don't know, advice you would give people around?
I mean, there are so many ways that I think we're going to be stretched this coming year. We're coming out of the North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sagittarius. So we're ending this 18-month phase where we've been encouraged to think for ourselves and come up with our own ideas, but we've also seen the shadow side of Sagittarius really rampant, struggles with belief systems and self-righteousness, and you're right and I'm right and you're wrong. I mean, that part has really come up too. And so as we go into this coming year and that nodal axis shift, it is going to be so important to really ground ourselves in that Taurus energy, which to me is connecting to nature. Taurus loves anything that's sensory. So it's when you feel that tension that we're going to feel, and all of the Scorpio side gets revved up, as it will because of the South Node. So our choice point is, how do I stay in the moment? How do I ground my energy? And then what simple physical things, because Taurus is very physical, what simple physical things can I do to remind myself that everything's okay? The end point of Taurus is finding inner peace.
Yeah.
And it does that by walking in nature, listening to beautiful music, looking at beautiful scenes. It's anything sensory that uses the 5 physical senses to give us a feeling of So I think keeping a list maybe of those little things that you can do, light a candle, the little things that you can do when you walk in a room and you're feeling the tension of the times, light a candle. It's going to shift something. Just simple things like that. Again, it doesn't have to be really complicated. We're moving away from the complexity of Scorpio. We're moving into the simplicity of Taurus. Does that help?
Absolutely, yeah. And it seems very, very resonant with the reminder I keep getting to come back to the fact that we're on Earth, you know?
Right. Just what you were saying. Yeah. Good.
Beautiful. Any other thing that you feel like you want to speak to before we end about the times, the times right now, like right this minute? Do you feel like there's something else you wanted to say right now, right this minute, today, as we're recording this? Saturn and Uranus are having their third exact square. And then on Saturday, Venus is having that second conjunction with Pluto.
Right.
Is there any other, and you were saying the quintile between.
Yeah, I think this is a good demonstration that, and we see it in our birth charts as well, as many challenges, squares, oppositions, whatever we might have on our birth chart, there's always a trine or a sextile. To me, there's always a release point, or always a silver lining, as it were. And today's, Jupiter is actually exactly quintile Uranus on the same day that Uranus is exactly squaring Saturn. So we've got that conflict and this world kind of dramas of the Uranus Saturn. But Jupiter and Uranus, when they get together, and the quintile is a very creative aspect. It can be great insights, very creative energy, a lot of aha moments. So, if you watch astrology, pay attention to even the minor, although I don't think this is such a minor aspect, but all the little ways that you can support yourself. And we are in this very, my class that you took, I called it the Final Ascent of 2021, because we're at a very steep, part of the trail here. And that is going to continue through the end of the year, because I think it's like December 30th or something that Mars is going to be at the same degree as the eclipse was. So it brings some of that energy back in.
Yes.
So, and then, so we're still in a process. I think remembering that, but not to be disheartened by that, but understand that we're going somewhere. It's not just a process. I mean, that's more of a Scorpio kind of thing. Oh, everything's bad and it's always going to be bad and it's always going to be dark and all of that. But we're moving somewhere. And I think this to me is Vesta too, having faith that we're going towards something and doing everything on an individual level to support yourself, self-care, the grounding, all of those things we mentioned with Taurus as well. Because we're not through this. I mean, we're never through this until we die and then we move to another realm. But this is a crunch time, and we do have, the Pluto return of the United States is already at work. It's exact for the first time in February. So we've got a lot of big shifts that are going on. The nation is meant to reinvent itself. And so we can't rely on things being stable out here, so they have to be stable in here.
Again, Taurus.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Wonderful. So when you're having your next class in January? What date?
Yeah, it's on January 12th. You'll love this. I'm calling it Finding Ground.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
The new Cosmic Directives for 2022. This is going to, at the beginning of the class, I'm going to give an overview of the whole year, a little bit like what we've just done, a little bit more in depth. I have a PowerPoint slideshow I put together and all of that. And then a big portion of the class is everybody who registers gets the calendars that show the astrological aspects. And I walk through those week by week so that it helps us feel, I think, somewhat prepared. It helps us know when there are going to be stress points and what we can call on. So that will take us January through April. And then I'll do another class late April, early May that covers 4 months. And then, so that's what I did last year. And I think it worked out pretty well.
I loved it. Yeah. I loved how on your calendars, you mark kind of the intensity level of each of the transits on various days. And so it kind of gave a sense of the rhythm of what the months were going to potentially feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can't be prepared for everything, but I think realizing, oh, well, this is it's a day with a red aspect. It's like, okay, how can I especially take care of myself today? Or how can I take things more slowly? Or remind myself to breathe? You know, it's those ways, again, grounding and remembering the spiritual purposes of these times. And I think having the dates and knowing what those things mean can be helpful in that way.
Yeah. And I just can speak in my own life. You know, often when I know what's going on astrologically, I don't feel crazy. I was telling you that this Saturn Uranus square is exactly to the minute opposite my natal Saturn Uranus square. Well, it's to the minute. Saturn is to the minute opposing my natal Saturn.
Wow.
And then also I have Uranus squaring my Saturn. So I've been feeling this really intense need to stop, which again could be related also to the winter solstice. But if I don't know what it would be like if I didn't know astrology, because I don't know what that would be like. But knowing that I do have Saturn coming into this opposition with my Saturn for the third time today, exactly today, and this whole week I've just been feeling this need to stop.
Right.
I can feel into the wisdom of Saturn. Saturn is so wise. I mean, it's the embodiment of a certain kind of wisdom, right? So, and maturity, and then I go, okay, all right. So what's that wisdom in the need to stop? Like maybe that's not me being lazy. That's
right.
There's something important, really, really important that I'm feeling there.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that about astrology. It gives you some guidelines, even if it doesn't give you all the answers. It helps you stop, and that's, definitely a Saturn moment. Saturn being the brake pedal. So then what is the gift in my stopping? What is the gift in this delay? What is the gift in this pause?
Yeah. And then same for like the collective in this Saturn Uranus square that's happening for all of us. It feels like we're all kind of coming to a standstill with the newest variant of COVID and la la la. And so a lot of people are questioning their holiday plans and all of that. And is there something potentially wise in that? I mean, again, I don't like to trivialize people's suffering at all. But yeah, that brake pedal doing something important.
And I think when we're clearly in circumstances that are outside of our control, again, Saturn would say, well, what's the mature way to handle this? Do you throw a tantrum, or do you say, okay, I'm not able to do what I want to do right now, so what can I do? Or, it's kind of, you're right. Saturn is always about a maturing process. So what would an adult do in this situation? What would a mature person, a wise person do?
Yeah. And then there's like, to me, there's the Saturn Uranus square in a sense feels comforting. Maybe it's because I have one natally. I don't know. But
it's familiar. It's familiar energy to you.
Yeah, but I love the idea that we both can have the Uranian, epiphanies or newness and like coming up with the great new thing, and at the same time have the reins being pulled back on us of Saturn saying, okay, yeah, that's a great idea, but hang on.
Right.
Like come back to the planet here and let's take a minute so that your great ideas can actually come into alignment and come into fruition step by step in a way that's going to work on the planet Earth, in the time-space continuum.
Right.
Yeah. So the two together in a certain way to me feels good.
Yeah.
But I also get that it is a square, and it's creates tension.
And a lot of people are going through amazing challenges right now. So yeah.
All right. So how can people find you and sign up for your class and connect with you for sessions?
The name of my business is North Point Astrology. And so you can go to northpointastrology.com. And I do write a weekly journal too, which goes out by email. It's a free thing. So if you go to the North Point Journal page on my website, you can both read this week's journal and sign up for it if you want to. And it also, that's where I have the announcement about the class, and it has a registration link and all of that.
Great. Yeah, and I get those every week, and I love them every week.
Oh, good. Great.
I really appreciate it.
I also want to mention my Facebook page, just because I try to post something there every day. And sometimes it's something I've written. Most of the time it's, channeled work I've pulled on, or something that feels resonant and helpful. So I feel like that's a part of what I offer, even though it's not all my writing. It's just, I just want to let people know that, because if you're enjoying the weekly newsletter, but you're feeling kind of adrift during the week, sometimes coming to something like a Facebook page where there's going to be supportive information and interesting articles and stuff can help you go back to, oh yeah, well, this is what I can focus on. This can help me feel better. This can help me ground. So I just offer that.
Actually interesting. I don't think I told you this, but your Facebook page, it's the one and only thing I have. I can't remember what it's called, but you can, on Facebook, you can make something like a VIP page. Like I set your page so that it's the first thing that shows up on my feed.
Oh, really? That makes me very happy. That's so great.
Yeah, because the things you post, there was sometime in this fall when I was going through a difficult moment, I just really needed like exactly what you just said. I needed to know, okay, I don't want to open Facebook and see the latest drama of the latest whatever. I need to come back to myself, and come back to positive, happy, uplifting things. And I love the things you post, and they really helped me during that time. So.
Oh, I'm so glad. I mean, it's really I love doing it because, I find something that resonates with me, and then I find a photo that I feel like goes with it. And that whole process is very restorative for me. And I do it so that it's also restorative to others. So I'm so glad to hear what you described. Okay, great.
Your goal worked for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And I'll put all those links in the
great.
Description. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Martha. It's so fun to talk with you. I've loved this. So thank you.
Wonderful.